Has anyone signed up for public comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. Les Trobman, General Counsel. We do have one public commenter this morning, Gloria Casas. Ms. Casas, if you could unmute yourself and state your name for the record and go ahead and proceed.
My name is Gloria Casas, and I'm from the Rio Grande Valley.
Ms. Casas?
Yes.
We may have a volume issue. If you could just hold on 1 second. Okay, go ahead and proceed.
Okay, my name is Gloria Casas, and I'm from the Rio Grande Valley. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, we can. Go ahead and please provide your comments.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity to visit with you. Just 2 minutes just to let you know who I am. I'm a 73-year-old woman who has been away from formal employment for 5 years. I worked many years. However, now that I'm away from formal employment, I find myself working 12 to 15 hours a day, helping my son run 3 businesses. And the only reason that I'm doing it is because we cannot find a person that could basically replace me. I do his HR and I do his general management. Right now, he's functioning at 75% employment. He has a capacity to hire and provide employment for 50 persons, but yet, you know, he cannot find people to work. And so this presents a big problem for a person in his position. He's trying to service people. I mean, provide, it's a service industry. It's 3 restaurants. One, I mean, a big restaurant and 2 local ones, one in a rural community and the other one in a medium size, La Feria, San Benito, and Harlingen. And it's been very distressing to me because I serve in many boards. In fact, I worked with Workforce Solutions a while back. And so, you know, I know Pat Hobbs and Henry Castillo, our local contractor for Workforce Solutions. And I've had conversations with them and their staff. And they tell me, and I believe them, and I know it's a fact, that we have this federal money that comes down to assist our workforce, right now mainly with unemployment. And my heart just dropped when I heard that the unemployment was going to be available through September. And although my heart goes out to all these families that are in need of these resources, my heart goes out to businesses like my son that will now have less workforce to address his needs. And you know that in a service industry, when you have a reduced workforce, it impacts the type of service that you provide. Customers want to be provided good personal service. Employees work their heart out and have personal needs where they need to be gone for a day or 2 or what have you, or God forbid, an illness. Well, when they have those needs, guess what happens to our workforce? You know, he has no one to pull to fill in that particular day that employee is going to be out. So that you know, brings a lot of stress for the employees. And so my reason for coming to you is for who can reach out to the legislators to let them know that, yes, thank you very much for everything you're providing. However, these are our needs. You know, I have been a school trustee for 26 years, and it's at the state, you know, local, state, and national level. And whenever there's an issue with the people that I represent, which are the students and the community and the school district, I reach out to my legislators and let them know, you know, what we're dealing with from a personal level. So my question to you is, who is reaching out to at the federal level, state level, to people in charge of developing these programs, of providing services, to let them know what we really need. Why does a small business, where is the benefit for the small business that's providing the taxes to fund these programs that they have? We're very blessed in the Valley that we have, a personal connection with the TWC, Mr. My name just escaped me right now, Julian. And, so I'm very proud that he is representing us. But nonetheless, he's just one member. And so my question again is, who is telling the story of what we're going through here in the Valley? When I worked with Workforce Solutions, I was in charge of developing what is now with the Lower Rio Grande Development Council, what was called the Small City Coalition. And the purpose of that coalition was to provide a voice for the rural communities. And so, I worked very hard to get that coalition going. And as I said, it's now part of the Lower Rio Grande Development Council. But it protected the rural communities. When we had this freeze, my heart just stopped, because Cisco, one of our big providers of supplies, decided they were not going to deliver to La Feria because we were a small community. Well, guess what? We couldn't open the restaurant, even though we had lights and what have you. We couldn't open it because we did not have supplies, and we had to let 7 other workers were not able to work. And I contacted Cisco and I said, what were you thinking? I mean, local funds impact our school district. And they were like, well, they also had the same problem. We didn't have enough drivers. So, small communities get impacted daily. So I'm reaching out to the Lower Rio Grande Development Council. I said, I helped develop that coalition. So what are you doing to provide support for the small cities, for the rural communities, actually? So, I've been involved in different levels. I sit on the appraisal district to make sure the school districts get our proper funding. I sit on the Valley AIDS Council because of the health needs that we have here in the Valley. I try my best. And I tell my son, had it not been for the Zoom meetings capacity that we have now, I couldn't leave the Valley to attend those meetings anymore, because I work, and I kid you not, I work between 12 to 15 hours helping my son. And I'm 73. I've been away for 5 years. I mean, when is it going to stop? So this is the reason, and I will go ahead and let you get back to your business of providing services for us. But I do want you to know that small businesses are dying here in the Valley. They're closing up due a lot of times because of the lack of workforce. And I mean, what's going to happen? I don't know the percentage now, but I used to know it. The percentage of small businesses' contribution to the tax base. So what's going to happen? So again, I thank you very much for your time, and I will be following you, more. I reached out to state Vela, our legislator, so what are you doing? We're dying because of lack of workforce. So thank you so much. And you all have a beautiful day and a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Casas. And I think that's all we have for public comment this morning.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, Ms. Miller.
Good morning, sir.
How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Do we have an exciting group of cases to look at this morning?
Yes, sir.
All right, then let's dig right in. No cases to reconsider under agenda item 3, though. Is that correct?
That's right. No
All
cases.
right. So look at tax liability cases under agenda item 4. I do think we have one tax case to consider on docket 13.
Yes, sir. It's case number TD-21-001-0121. Commissioner Demerson.
I agree with staff recommendation that the roofers and crew leaders are not in employment. In addition, we should send a memo to tax to determine the liability of the roofers and the crew leaders for unemployment taxes on wages they pay to their workers.
Commissioner Alvarez.
Ms. Miller, can I have a break real quick just to consult with my attorney real quick?
Certainly.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. I agree with staff's recommendation and request a memo to tax to investigate whether the roofing teams that the employer contracts with are employers who employ the subordinate team members.
Agree with staff recommendation.
Thank you.
No fair housing cases under agenda item 5.
Correct, sir.
Move to agenda item 6, no wage claim cases pulled for additional discussion on docket 13.
That is correct. I believe you have received the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 13.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining wage claim cases on docket 13.
Chairman, I second the motion except for those cases on which I am dissenting as reflected on the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 13.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected in the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 13.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you.
Let's move to agenda item 7, consideration of unemployment insurance cases on docket 13. Please proceed when you're ready.
Case number 2535270, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision should be modified. The claimant is not always able to work due to medical issues. Due to his absences, his supervisor informed him he could not miss another day without a doctor's note. The owner expressed a desire for him not to miss any days. The claimant was again ill and texted his absence to his manager. He regularly texted his absences, and the employer testified it was a proper method of communication. The employer never responded to the claimant's text. Based on their lack of response, the claimant assumed he had been fired. He sent more messages seeking clarification on his job status. The employer received the messages but decided not to respond. The employer effectively discharged the claimant by choosing not to respond to his request for clarification. The claimant was never afforded the opportunity to provide a medical excuse. The claimant's final absence was due to a medical issue and was not misconduct. Since the absence was medically related, it would be appropriate to protect the employer's account. Modify the AT, no misconduct, no chargeback, MBI.
The appeal tribunal decision should be reversed. The claimant voluntarily quit after he assumed he had been terminated. The claimant had mentioned he had a doctor's excuse, but because he had assumed he was terminated, he did not attempt to text, email, or bring in the excuse. The employer stated that no one ever told the claimant he was fired. Accordingly, because the claimant did not take adequate measures to protect his job, he voluntarily quit without work-connected good cause. We should therefore reverse the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Reverse the AT, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, impose adequate response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 2547432, Commissioner Dimmerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be affirmed. Regarding timeliness, the claimant stated that her mailing address is correct and that she was not aware of any delivery problems. In addition, the claimant also stated that multiple people checked the mail and usually place it on the kitchen table. Accordingly, the claimant failed to provide credible and persuasive evidence that the decision was not delivered to her address of record, and we should therefore affirm the AT decision. Untimely claimant petition to reopen, leave the underlying decision in full force and effect. Voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
The AT2 decision in this case is not supportable. The claimant has consistently maintained that she did not receive the AT1 decision and that was mailed to her, which caused her to file a late appeal. She provided credible and persuasive evidence of receipt of the decision, and her late appeal should be deemed timely. Timely petition to reopen and remand.
Reverse the AT, timely petition to reopen, remand.
Sure, what you said.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Dimmerson.
Case number 2551108, Commissioner Alvarez.
The decision should be reversed. The claimant needed to be working part-time and earning less than $500 per week to file a valid claim for unemployment benefits. The claimant was working part-time and according to testimony, he was earning $498 per week at most when he filed his initial claim. By law, the claimant was unemployed when he filed his initial claim. Additionally, the employer's testimony that the claimant was earning $498 per week was contradicted by an earnings audit that the employer returned to TWC. In that earnings audit, the employer reported that the claimant only earned $456 during the week he filed, which is well below the legal threshold to be considered unemployed. Reverse AT valid claim unemployed.
I agree that the claimant filed a valid claim since his reduced earnings were less than 125% of his weekly benefit amount. Should reverse the AT decision, valid claim.
Reverse the AT valid claim.
Thank you. We have a unanimous decision.
Case number 2558857, Commissioner Alvarez.
The decision should be modified. The claimant provided sworn testimony that she has Crohn's disease. Because he takes immune suppressing medication, the claimant's doctor advised the claimant not to go to work until there was a COVID vaccine or it was under control. The claimant's medical issues provided him good cause connected with the work for quitting. Modify the AT valid claim, no voluntary leaving, disaster, void chargeback.
Chairman, I want to consult with my counsel real quick.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, thank you. The AT decision should be modified. First, the validity of claim issue should be severed and the chargeback ruling should be voided. As to the job separation, I would agree to qualify the claimant under the MVI provisions of the Act, based on the nature of the claimant's position and his undisputed testimony that a doctor advised him to take a leave of absence from work. However, a memo should be sent to investigate the claimant's ability and availability for work. We should modify the AT decision, no voluntary leaving, MVI, void the chargeback ruling, sever the validity of claim issue, and send a memo to UIA and OS to investigate the claimant's ability and availability for work.
Modify the AT valid claim, no voluntary leaving, MVI, void chargeback.
Case number 2.
One moment, I'm sorry, excuse me. Commissioner Alvarez, we have a majority vote to grant benefits to the claimant, but there is not a majority. I mean, the majority on the rationale for it is different from what you voted for. The MVI rationale is the majority.
I would agree to that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Please proceed.
Case number 2588774, Commissioner Dimerson.
The AT decision should be modified. I do not dispute the good cause finding, nor do I dispute the claimant's qualification for benefits based on reduced hours. However, the employer's account should be protected from charge. Exhibit 17A and 18A in evidence include a statement from the claimant where he confirms that his hours were reduced due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Since the evidence supports that the claimant's reduction in hours was caused by the disaster, we should modify the AT2 decision. The claimant had good cause for his non-appearance, no voluntary leaving, no chargeback, disaster.
I would agree to that.
Agreed.
Thank you, sir. We have a unanimous decision.
Case number 2606199, Commissioner Dimerson.
I'm sorry, let me correct that. 2606195. Thank you.
The AT decision should be modified. I do not dispute the valid claim ruling. As to the job separation, the evidence supports that the claimant resigned since she rejected multiple opportunities for new assignments for personal reasons. The claimant's last assignment ended on May 29th, 2020. On that day, the employer was ready to offer the claimant a new assignment, but the claimant declined and instead asked for a 2-day break, which was granted. However, the claimant did not contact the employer at the end of the break. Instead, she waited 3 more days before contacting the employer on June 3rd, 2020. Therefore, per employer policy, the claimant abandoned her job when she failed to contact the employer immediately after her approved leave had expired. If we measure the job separation from the time the claimant rejected the assignment offered to her on June 3rd, 2020, the claimant should still be disqualified. Transportation was the claimant's responsibility, and there is no evidence that the employer agreed to limit the claimant's assignments based on transportation. As such, because the claimant did not contact the employer in a timely manner after her break ended, nor did she show good cause for rejecting the assignments offered to her, she quit without work-connected good cause, and we should modify the AT decision. Valid claim, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The decision should be affirmed. The claimant was separated when her client passed away. The claimant informed the employer of the client's passing and asked for 2 days off to mourn. The claimant then contacted the employer and was offered 2 assignments. She accepted one of the offered assignments, and the employer told her that they would contact her when the assignment was going to start. However, the employer never called her back. As the claimant was separated when the claimant passed away, when her client passed away, she should remain qualified for benefits. Affirm the AT valid claim, no misconduct chargeback.
Affirm the AT, valid claim, no misconduct, chargeback.
Clerk Wong.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Dimerson.
Case number 2618709, Commissioner Alvarez.
The decision should be modified. The claimant quit because the work environment was unsafe. The employer was not enforcing social distancing, and there was no soap at the hand washing stations. The claimant spoke with the management about these issues, but no corrective action was taken. The employer did not offer testimony or any other evidence contradicting the claimant. The failure to take the most basic safety precautions to prevent the spread of COVID-19 provided the claimant good cause connected with the work for quitting. Modify the AT valid claim, no voluntary leaving, disaster, void chargeback.
Agree with that. The AT decision should be modified. First, the validity of claim issue should be severed and the chargeback issue should be voided. As to the job separation, I would agree to qualify the claimant under the disaster provision of the Act. We should therefore modify the AT decision, no voluntary leaving, disaster, void the chargeback ruling, and sever the validity of claim issue.
Can you read back to me Commissioner Alvarez's vote?
Commissioner Alvarez voted that the claim is valid, no voluntary leaving, disaster, void chargeback.
I would concur with Commissioner Alvarez.
Thank you.
I think
I think the only difference is the sever.
Yeah, and so sever the validity of claim issue, that's what we have.
Right, the majority is just to affirm it.
Okay.
Okay.
Case number 2621970, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision should be reversed. First, as the commission previously voted, the claimant's petition to reopen should be granted. On the separation, the claimant took merchandise home with management's permission. On April 28, 2020, the employer then demanded that the claimant sign a rental agreement for the merchandise and begin to pay for it. The claimant did not have the funds to pay for the rental fees, and the employer then discharged him when he got behind on the rental payments. The employer had no policy regarding failure to pay rental fees, and the claimant was never notified that getting behind on the rental payments was grounds for dismissal. The claimant simply did not have the money to make the payments, and his actions did not rise to the level of misconduct. Reverse the AT, claimant had good cause for his non-appearance, no misconduct, void chargeback.
The AT decision should be modified. The claimant was found to have good cause for his non-appearance back on docket 9. As to the job separation, the claimant failed to make timely payments for the employer's merchandise in his possession. The facts clearly established that the claimant knew he needed to make payments, since he testified that he granted himself a 2-week extension for his next payment. However, there's no indication that the claimant discussed this self-imposed extension with the employer. Moreover, the claimant's denial of responsibility is not credible given his internally inconsistent testimony and contradictory statements he provided to the commission. As such, the claimant's failure to make a timely payment or attempt to discuss the matter with the employer constitutes mismanagement of his position of employment. We should modify the AT decision, good cause for the claimant's non-appearance, misconduct, void chargeback.
Modify the AT. Claim established good cause for AT1, misconduct, void chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 2632666, Commissioner Dimerson.
The commission should grant a rehearing in this case. The employer, in its appeal to the commission, stated that the two key witnesses were not available during the date of the hearing. In addition, the employer stated at the AT hearing that the claimant supervisor was unable to testify. Since an integral part of this case revolved around the claimant's responsibility to notify his supervisor when he was to take time off, the commission should grant a rehearing to take testimony from the employer's witness, including the claimant's supervisor.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The claimant was off work on an approved leave of absence. When he was informed that his absence jeopardized his job, he was never informed. The employer has failed to provide sufficient evidence of any misconduct. Moreover, a rehearing is not appropriate in this case. While the employer stated in its appeal to the commission that it had witnesses who were unavailable for the AT hearing, it has not stated who these witnesses are or why they were unavailable. The employer therefore has not provided a credible basis for the case to be reheard. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Reverse the AT. Voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Commissioner Dimerson, you pulled this case.
I agree with the chairman.
Thank you.
Ms. Miller, short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 2644775, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision is not supportable. The AT ruled that the claimant voluntarily quit her job without good cause connected with the work because she failed to clarify her status with the employer. After the employer revoked the claimant's access to the employer's Facebook account and messaging app, the claimant sent a message to the employer asking if she had been fired. The employer responded that he was sorry and wanted her to be happy. The employer's response, combined with the other circumstances, constituted unequivocal proof of the employer's intent to discharge the claimant. The employer has provided no evidence of misconduct by the claimant. The claimant was therefore involuntarily separated for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The claimant is not credible because her denial of being a no-call, no-show was disputed by testimony from multiple witnesses. The employer statements have also remained consistent and detailed, thereby bolstering the employer's credibility. Furthermore, the evidence revealed that the claimant had a history of quitting and returning to work. As such, the text messages and evidence do not support that the claimant was discharged. Rather, the employer reasonably believed that the claimant resigned yet again when she failed to report to work. Since the claimant gave the employer the reasonable impression that she resigned, and since she failed to clarify her job status with the employer, she quit without work-connected good cause. We should affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
Affirm the AT. Voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 2660076, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision should be reversed. The claimant is pregnant, which places her at risk for severe illness from COVID. Her employer also was not enforcing safety protocols and had contracted the disease as well. The claimant quit due to her legitimate fear of COVID-19 and therefore with good cause connected with the work. Reverse AT, no voluntary leaving.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant testified that she did not inform the employer of any issues she had with her working conditions prior to quitting without notice. While the claimant may have had legitimate complaints, by quitting without first giving the employer an opportunity to remedy her concerns, she quit without good cause connected with the work. We should affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving.
Affirm the AT. Voluntary leaving.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 2669585, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision should be reversed. The claimant was notified on January 20th, 2020, January 2020, that she was going to be laid off. The claimant was entitled to 8.4 weeks of severance pay, which per company policy, was calculated based on her length of service. On January 10th, 2020, the employer gave her a letter offering her the opportunity to receive an additional 10 weeks of severance if she remained in her position until her scheduled layoff date of April 24th, 2020. The claimant stayed in her position until she was laid off and received a total of 18.4 weeks as offered by the letter dated April 24th, 2020. The claimant received the severance pay pursuant to an agreement negotiated by the parties almost 3.5 months before her work separation. She therefore did not receive disqualifying severance pay. Reverse the AT severance pay eligible, no overpayment.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant's testimony and fact-finding statements established that the claimant received and continues to receive severance payments meant to cover more than 18 weeks of her regular wages. The claimant does not dispute that she received the severance remuneration, but disagrees with the overpayment. However, TWC records indicate that the claimant failed to report her payments to TWC when filing her claim certifications. Thus, because the severance payments do not meet any of the non-disqualifying exemptions, the disqualification and resulting overpayments are appropriate. We should affirm the AT decision disqualifying severance May 10th, 2020 through August 29th, 2020, overpayment of $5,210.
Reverse the 18, no severance disqualification, no overpayment.
Short form consent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Demerson.
Case number 2727818, Commissioner Dimerson.
We should grant a rehearing in this case. In its appeal to the commission, the employer states that it has proof of a timely appeal. We should rehear this case for the submission and review of this evidence.
The decision is supportable. The first evidence of an appeal from the employer was on August 27, 2020, 1 month after the appeal deadline. The employer was unable to provide credible and persuasive testimony to establish an earlier appeal or late receipt of the determination. The chargeback determination should be affirmed. Affirm the AT, employer appeal not timely, chargeback.
Reverse the AT, timely employer appeal, resubmit.
Commissioner Demerson, you pulled this case.
Yeah, we agree with the chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Case number
One moment.
2729056, Commissioner Alvarez.
My apologies. Returning to 2727818. This is a resubmit. I don't need a short form dissent. Thank you. Going on to case number 2729056. Commissioner Alvarez.
Yes, ma'am. The decision is not supportable. The employer assigned the claimant to a job where social distancing guidelines were not being followed. The claimant approached his supervisor explaining he did not feel safe and would quit. The supervisor expressed to the claimant that The supervisor expressed to the claimant that is how the job would be. The claimant attempted to move to another job, but no other jobs were available. Since the employer was not following social distancing guidelines, the claimant had good cause connected with the work to quit. Reverse AT, no voluntary leave.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision because the claimant quit on his first day of a new assignment and without allowing the employer a reasonable opportunity to properly address his concerns, the claimant quit without good cause connected with the work. Accordingly, we should affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving.
Affirm the AT, voluntary leave.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 2736656, Commissioner Dimerson.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. The facts are very much in dispute. However, despite the disagreements, this case stems from an alleged lack of PPE in the workplace due to the pandemic. Under these circumstances, because the record supports a finding that the job separation was caused by the COVID-19 disaster, the claimant should remain qualified for benefits and the employer's account should be protected from charge. We should modify the AT decision, no voluntary leaving, no chargeback, disaster.
I would agree with Commissioner Demerson.
Agreed.
Thank you. We have unanimous decision. And that is the last UI case pulled for additional discussion on docket 13. You previously received the UI short form dissent list for docket 13.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 13.
I second the motion except for those cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 13.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected in the UI short form dissent list for docket 13.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is there any other order of business come before the commission? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'm sorry, Chairman, I apologize. I was delayed on that. Chairman and Commissioner Demerson, I would like to request that Mr. Cerna and the team, and for the team, the following. At the December 1st, 2020 commission meeting, the commissioners approved the Child Care Industry Partners Program, which was modeled off OEI's Texas Industry Partnership TIP program. CCIP allows for a cash match from industry foundations. I would like to ask staff to investigate expanding the definition of partnership to include all philanthropic foundations, not just industry foundations, so long as they are in good standing with the agency and IRS. Understanding that childcare is unlike any other industries, it does not make sense to have it exactly mimic OEI's TIP. We may have missing opportunity to leverage dollars from foundations, such as Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or other similar foundations. Thank you, Chairman.
Not used to standing on this side versus being able to reach. Sorry for the delay. Commissioner Alvarez, we'll certainly work on that. If you don't mind, if I get staff to visit with your staff to kind of fully understand the extent of what it is you wanted to explore, we're glad to do that.
Thank you, Ed.
Any other item of business?
I think, let me just add, while they're looking at that, if we find that it's beneficial to extend those areas of opportunity for the child care program, let's revisit the TIP program as well to see if we're missing any opportunities on that side as well. We may not be, but let's look into that.
Yes, sir. We'll do both.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn, and we're adjourned.
Turn your microphone off.